think Tevez going to Juventus, what a coup that was for me. I mean,
on a head-to-head battle, Atletico Madrid can do more damage to Barcelona than the other way around.
Either he's really blind or he's fixing the match. I can't see it any other way.
I'm trying to get Sir Bob on my side here by saying City will win the Premier League.
It is an upset. You would expect Man United to go and win there.
Over $1 billion was paid in transfer fees between the clubs in Europe.
It's football. It's damn football. Like Ferguson said, football. Bloody marvellous.
Yeah, well, the celebration was, I can't believe I just scored against Mexico. At one point, Parma, I think it's only like 224 players under contract. Hey, they're going to throw me out of here, fellas. You're going to get me arrested on your show.
If you're a serious talent, you're going back and you're playing for Santos. You know, you're going back to play for, like in Argentina, for River Plate or Boca Juniors, or you're going to Europe.
He looked like the Ryan Giggs of old. He was more creative than any player on the pitch. He made Mata look stupid. He made Rooney look silly.
Now, the Premier League is the most exciting league out there. I think it's probably the best marketed league without a question.
When you look at the draw for the Champions League, you kind of say, well, all the pieces kind of fell into place for everybody except City.
I am your host, Joe Usello. Sir Bob, Mike Orr. My co-host, Rob Rojas. My trusted co-host, Ben the Machine. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 107 of Low Limit Football on this February 1st, 2016. I am your host, Joe Usello, and glad to be back after a great weekend of football. I am joined by my co-hosts, Mike Orr and Rob Rojas, and I know I'm rushing through everything we do quickly because right now we are lucky to have joining us from the Toronto Sun, Kurtis Larson. Kurtis, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us and joining us right at the top of the hour here. It's fantastic, and it gives us a few minutes of your time, which is great. I actually want to open the conversation with a Twitter back and forth that you went through recently about who was, I think, and I want to get the gist of this right, who's better known worldwide, Wayne Gretzky or Sebastian Giovinco? And we started to discuss this here, amongst the three of us before you came online. And I can't believe how divided we are in it. I for sure would have said Wayne Gretzky, no doubt about it. I mean, the greatest hockey player to ever live. And I've got a naysayer here amongst us that says no way, that it has to be Sebastian Giovinco. So I want your take on it, and then I want to pose the question to you a little bit differently that might prove the Wayne Gretzky side of it. But your take on it, who's more popular?
Well, I mean, first of all, I just posed that question because I was having a little discussion with someone in the newsroom, and it was supposed to just be fun, and it kind of took off. In my opinion, I think sometimes we give Americans too much credit. I'm an American myself, so not saying anything bad about U.S. citizens, but sometimes I think we give Americans too much credit for knowing about what's really a new sport in hockey. I think if you go to a lot of places in the U.S., they wouldn't know Wayne Gretzky. I think a lot of Americans don't even know Joe Biden's the vice president. That's just my opinion. But Giovinco, known, maybe you don't say known worldwide, but I think you go to a large portion of Europe, he's known. He's certainly known, well known in Canada, and his name's growing and should grow more as long as he's selected to go to the Euros with Italy. So, in my opinion, it's very close. It's hard to say. Could go either way.
Okay. The way I want to prove the Wayne Gretzky side of it is to basically say that I think in Europe, Wayne Gretzky is more popular than Sebastian Giovinco because there is such a large hockey base in Europe. They play hockey in France. They play it in Italy. Obviously, in the Scandinavian countries, you see it there, and Russia and that Eastern Bloc area as well is big in hockey. So I can't imagine that heavily populated area. But then you look at places like India, you look at places like China that follow soccer a little bit more religiously than they certainly do hockey. I could see where it would be debatable.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you throw in the USSR and Russia, a big hockey spot in the world, I think you might have to tip in Gretzky's favor. That said, like I said, the one thing is that Javinko somehow goes and has a big Euro somehow, then look out. I think it's a lot closer than you think.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's bring it back to soccer because that's kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. I know I have one quick question for you, then I'm going to send you over to my co-hosts because I know they have a few more. And I want to talk about the MLS. My argument against the MLS, although they've made strides in recent years, especially with the signing of Sebastian Giovinco last year and everything he did in the league, was fantastic to really, in my opinion, bring the league a step up. But now we look at this year's transfer window. We see the Nigel de Jongs, who's 31, Ashley Cole, who's I think 35, Jelly Van Damme, who's going over to the LA Galaxy. I believe he's 32. I could be wrong on his age. There was also with the contract information that came out with John Terry yesterday. It sounded like people were starting to talk about, hey, John Terry's going to be the next guy to come over to MLS. The guy's 36 years old. I mean, is this kind of thing that's happening in the transfer window, especially now you lost Matt Miazga to go over to Chelsea? Is this good for MLS, or is this really the wrong turn that this league is taking?
Well, I think you got to look at MLS as having a balanced approach. At the same time, while they're, while they might be signing some aging stars, Ashley Cole, I think you're right, is kind of a ridiculous signer to his point in his career. But at the same time, they're developing, players like Castillo in Dallas who has a large transfer target on his head. Jordan Moore signing with Seattle. Sporting Kansas City is always trying to bring in the young players like Christian Nemeth, who they've just recently sold. I think there's a good balance going on. I think MLS, as long as they keep on signing guys like Frank Lampard and guys like Steven Gerrard, guys who are clearly talented, in my opinion, and there's always going to be this kind of unfortunate stigma that the league is a retirement league, and I think as of right now, you can still say that the league, to some players, is a retirement league. That said, I think it's trending in the right direction where it's going away from that. If you look at a lot of the young players, it's producing and selling abroad.
Well, just to take it a step further, Don Garber has multiple times stated that he wants MLS to be on the same stage as the EPL or the Serie A or the Bundesliga. What is the next step that MLS has to take to move forward in that direction and be one of those leagues eventually?
Well, I mean, it's no secret. If you don't have the TV revenue and you don't have the TV viewership, you're never going to reach the kind of revenue you need in order to bring in big names and in order to have, massive payrolls like every team in the British Premier League and in Europe do. So the TV figures still aren't there yet, and therefore the revenues haven't gone up in a manner that would allow teams to go out and spend. Teams like Toronto FC, who have billionaire ownership, can go out and they can drop $50 million on players, no problem. But the teams like Colorado and the teams like Dallas, who without that extra revenue coming in from ESPN and these networks, they're never going to be able to go out and spend more than $5 million on players. Right. So I feel like it's at a point where we can go out and we can spend $100 million on a roster, and you're just not going to be able to compete with teams in Europe. So I mean that's the basic principle of what's going on, and I think Garber's come out and said that until we have NBA like or NHL like TV numbers, we're never going to reach where we want to be. So he can say we want to be one of the biggest leagues in the world in 10 years. I still think it's going to be 20, 30, 40 years from now before we even know what MLS could potentially be.
Well, I hope we're around to see it. So I'm going to send you over to Mike, or Mike's up in Toronto with you, and I know he has a bunch of questions. So Mike, take it away.
Hey, Curtis, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. How you doing?
Good. It was nice to meet you at the game this summer. I guess I wanted to ask you about the Toronto FC and some of the additions they brought in. I know you wrote today that the LA Galaxy probably won the offseason in terms of players brought in, but nonetheless, Toronto was again heavily active in this window with Drew Moore and Steven Betashure. But another player they brought in was goalkeeper Clint Irwin to replace Joe Bendik, who I know I think we both know, living here in Toronto, was pretty polarizing. People either liked him or hated him. There was really no in between. So do you see this move for Clint Irwin as a move up, down, or sideways?
Well, I mean, I think it's a move that had to happen. I think Joe Bendik, whatever you say about him, even people who might have thought that he got a little bit too much heat in Toronto, they had to agree that he had to move on based on, the amount of fan vitriol, and the coaching staff had seemingly lost all kind of confidence in him by basically Michigan twice last season. So, Quinn Irwin, I guess by those standards, you could say is at least a small step up. I still think his bill of work isn't significant. I mean, we have 3 seasons at a place like Colorado. Didn't win a whole lot of games. I still don't think we know what this guy could potentially be. This is probably going to be the biggest season of his career under the under the big lights of BMO Field with one of the richest teams in MLS. This is probably going to be the year that makes or break his entire career. I mean, if he comes out and doesn't do well, then there's going to be immediate questions as to how can we replace this guy. If he comes out, does well, like maybe someone like Stephen Fry did here for a long time, then all of a sudden he's a club hero and people are on his side.
And what do you think of the other additions they brought in? Is it enough for you and the back line now?
Well, I mean, it has to be enough. Whether or not it works is a whole other thing. We won't know that until the games actually start. But I think on paper, I don't think you have anybody anywhere in the league disagreeing that the players Toronto FC has brought in, Stephen Beitashour, Drew Moore, are the guys they needed. So, it all changes when the ball drops and when we see what Drew Moore looks like next to a Perkey, Damien Perkey. But as of right now, I think those 2 signings at the back are going to help. But I think maybe the most important signing might be Will Johnson. I mean, this is a guy who is going to work probably, stay behind Michael Bradley, really clean up all the messes that happened in midfield, the ones that Michael Bradley maybe last year didn't do a good job of recovering to break up. This is going to free Bradley up, I think, to go forward a lot more, to give up a lot of the defensive responsibilities that he really doesn't want to have. I think he wants to be that number 10 now, as we've all seen. So Will Johnson could be the guy that I think sits in front of the back 4 and cleans things up and also helps protect Bradley.
So is Cheru going to be backup for cover for Johnson then, or do you see Cheru moving on?
Well, I think he's going to be here this year. I think what you could do is you could play 2 holding midfielders or 2 box-to-box midfielders behind Michael. I think they're going to probably go with some kind of diamond, 4-2-1 or 4-2-1-2, where you'll have Altidore and Javinko up front. But then you're also going to have Bradley kind of playing in the hole right behind them. And as we saw a lot last year, when Bradley would go forward, oftentimes, Javinko, Altidore, and Bradley wouldn't really recover in time to help break up plays, to help get TFC in a strong defensive position. I think playing 2 guys behind Bradley, one of them being Cheru, the other one Will Johnson, will do a lot to I think, stop up a lot of the damage that teams did last year, because TFC conceded 58 goals. Part of that was due to the midfield structure.
Okay, and while we got you on the air, Kurtis, I have to ask you about the Canadian men's national team. We have a home and away with Mexico in March. Can we steal 1 point in this series? And if not, what will we need in the final 2 games in September to make the Hex?
Yeah, I mean, I think a point against Mexico in Vancouver is possible. I think when you look at Mexico historically, they don't do well when they go on the road, to places like the U.S., to places like Canada, to places pretty much anywhere in CONCACAF. I mean, they had a good second match in Honduras where they won for the first time in something like 50 years. But I think right now everything's trending in Canada's favor. They're looking good. They're playing together. Defensively, they haven't conceded a goal in World Cup qualifying in this round yet. And what we know about Mexico is they don't travel well to Canada historically. I mean, they're also playing on turf in a cold environment in an unfamiliar stadium. It wouldn't surprise me to see Mexico come out flat in that game in Vancouver, Canada steal a point, and then of course go into that second thing where I don't think anybody's going to expect anything out of that game. Looking ahead to maybe the last 2 games in the group, you have to hope that Honduras and El Salvador play each other to 2 draws maybe in March, which would allow for Canada really to just need a win on the final day against El Salvador, which is possible. So everything's trending in Canada's favor right now. They're playing well. 2 big results in the opening 2 games. So right now, I don't think Benito Floro, the head coach, would be any happier.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kurtis. I want to thank you again for being on, and I'll see you down at the park this summer. And I'm going to give you over to Rob Rowehouse in Connecticut now.
Cool.
Yes. Hey, Kurtis. It's nice to have you on the show.
Yep.
I just have a question regarding Kyle Larin. And I spoke to Kyle Larin about a few months ago, almost to the end of the MLS season. Now, bear in mind, he was the Rookie of the Year, scoring 17 goals in 27 games. breaking the record for most goals by a rookie. I just want to know your opinion, and basically the opinion in Canada about this player as maybe the next big thing and Canada's next jewel in soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kyle. What we know about him is he's great in the box. He's great with his head. He's great at battling players and in front of goal. He's a poacher. He's able to get on the end of things. I think where he might fall a little bit short right now early in his career, and I think that's where a lot of strikers fall short, is kind of playing with his back to goal, being able to bring other players into the game, being more than one-dimensional. I think right now he's excellent in the box. I mean, he's a handful to deal with, but I think he has to work on certain aspects of his game, and that includes checking back to the ball and just connecting passes in midfield. His first touch, I think, often bounces up on him, and he needs to clean that up a little bit. But, in terms of Canadian prospects, there hasn't been a guy like him in a very long time. And I think, for Canada to have success in the future, they're going to need Larin to step up, because right now there's really no other goal scoring prospects in the team. But all I can say right now is that I also hope that the 2015 wasn't a fluke. He did have, I think, 2 hat tricks kind of really close together, so that kind of boosted that goal scoring mark. So I'd like to see him do it in more games over like an entire season instead of just scoring in bunches in certain parts of the campaign.
Right, he's been a sensational talent, as he's proven in the MLS and in Canada as well. I just have my last question. Thank you again for coming on. I just want your opinions as well about another player who's been performing in MLS, and it's Tesha Kandeli.
Yeah, I mean, Tesha is another player that Canada's fortunate to have right now. I think what I like about him is he can play a bunch of different spots in the field. I think you're okay playing him up front, maybe in a two-man forward system. But he's also fit into Benito Floro's plans well with Canada and down in Dallas, because he's able to play off the wing and cut inside on his right foot and create chances that way. Had a good rookie year. He kind of slowed down, I think, in 2015. Didn't get as many goals, assists as he would have liked. But I'm eager to see what he does in his third season in the league, to see if, is this a player who is playing at a level closer to what he was his rookie season, or is this a player who's playing closer to what he did last season, which was kind of fall off a little bit. So we'll see how he reacts to the pro game now. He's had 2 years under his belt, some big World Cup qualifiers coming up. So this is a season where it's going to make or break for him, because he's probably going to a contract year too.
Definitely. We're going to definitely expect a lot of great things from him. Curtis, I really want to thank you for coming on the show, and I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Thanks, Rob. Curtis, I do have one more question before we let you go. We have an interactive chat room, and one of our longtime listeners, Edmund Neeson, has a question about Steven Vittoria choosing Canada. He wants to know if it's true.
Well, I haven't confirmed any of that yet. I think all the chatter is true, at least. I think when you look at a guy like Steven Vittoria, I don't think there's really a reason for him not to choose Canada, because he's certainly not going to get any more appearances with the Portuguese national team. So, he's playing in MLS now. I'm not sure why he wouldn't pick Canada as long as they'll have him. So, for Steven Vittoria, though, there's also a lot of competition here. So he's not going to walk into the Canadian national team. I mean, he's got players like Donald Henry ahead of him. He's got players like David Egger, who are playing really well, and a lot more. So if he's going to choose, he needs to choose now. He needs to get into one of these camps soon this year. Or else there's probably not going to be a place for him anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you again for joining us tonight and giving us your time. We really do appreciate it. We'd love to have you back again soon, probably a little closer to the kickoff of the MLS season towards the end of the month or sometime in March.
All right, man. No problem.
Thanks again. Have a good night.
Thanks, Curtis.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that was Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun. Obviously, fantastic. We think he could definitely give us, hours upon hours of information. He certainly knows his stuff. And we're very, very happy to have him, give us a few minutes of his time tonight on certainly what is a busy night in the soccer world with the close of the transfer window. One of the things I wanted to say at the opening tonight was that sound you heard was the door of hope closing on some teams in this world. And, whether they had to give up their star prize player or they couldn't get what they needed to move forward and advance themselves. So tonight, gentlemen, we're going to skip over our opening thoughts topic, seeing that it was kind of a little bit of that Gretzky-Javinko talk, and it's going to be such a transfer-heavy night that we're probably going to need to pare down the show a little bit. But Mike,
so what was your conclusion, though, Joe? You kind of were on the fence.
I still think it's Gretzky. I do still think it's Gretzky. I mean, I would admit it. When you look at the population of the world, I think it's closer than what you originally thought or what I originally thought. But I still would lean towards the Gretzky side of it. I did tweet in our thank you to Kurtis Larson that our straw poll says that it's Gretzky is more popular by 2-1, meaning me and Rob over you. So,
but you failed to mention I count for 2.5 votes.
Then what do I get? A half a vote? Jeez.
And you guys get one each, so it's 2.5 to 1 in favor.
I thought we were living in a democracy.
I was going to say I didn't know I married you this week. What's going on? So, but yeah, it's an interesting question. Edmund.
It was a good question, yeah.
Yeah, and Edmund in the chat had noted that he thought that maybe Sidney Crosby might be a little more popuer.
I don't think so.
Sidney
Crosby, Wayne Gretzky beat Sidney Crosby.
Yeah,
by
but
miles.
I could see. I would say almost instead of Crosby, I would say Alex Ovechkin might be the
still
better
beaten
choice.
by Wayne Gretzky though.
Oh yeah. I think
so
still beaten by Gretzky.
So we just take Wayne Gretzky and still put him up against Giovinco. I think Giovinco beats Ovechkin.
But I just in the.
I think it's
in
close.
The here and now, I think it's close.
The two names we have is pretty close.
Yeah,
that's why it's a pretty. You'll know. I guess it's really close, judging on everybody's responses, because even the ones he got were, a lot of people outside of Canada chose Giovinco, and everybody pretty much inside of Canada chose Gretzky.
Of course, I mean he's the national.
Except for me, I still think it's Giovinco.
So, all right, Mike.
But it is very close.
So since our start was altered tonight, obviously in honor of our guest, do you still have a trivia question?
I do.
Ooh, all right. Got it ready?
I do. 8 non-European cities have hosted a World Cup final. Can you name them?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
8 non-European cities have hosted a World Cup final. Name them.
Got them. Right there.
I'm working on it. I'm just going through them in my head.
I'll even write it down right now. 8, you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I got it.
Yeah, hold on. I've got 4 right now. Okay.
Does it? Never mind. I was about to say in the future, but no, doesn't count.
Doesn't count. They have hosted, not will host.
Okay.
I've got 5 of them written down. I am working on. Oh, there's another one. I got 6.
If we're choosing the future, you couldn't be wrong, could you? There'd be no way of proving it.
Well,
other than the next World Cup, but I could predict Mars, and you can't say I'm not going to be right.
True. Wow, it's 8, huh? 8 non-European cities have hosted the World Cup final. What am I missing?
Which I assume means they held the whole tournament, but
remember, not every continent has hosted a World Cup final.
Right, I've got 7 now.
All right, we got lots of time.
I think I have them. I think I have them.
It's an easy one.
I bet you don't.
I might.
Rob does, but I don't know about you.
Shut up. So, all right. So now, like I said, the opening topic or the opening thoughts for us tonight is really going to be a quick little analysis of the transfer window as it has closed. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. It's closed all over the world. Or
at least in Europe. Yeah. I think there's some place that's open until sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, what we've seen happen is going to happen. So I guess we'll take a look at it by...
but the leagues we cover, yes, they are all closed.
By the leagues we cover, and obviously we're going to have to add MLS back into this. I think we need to.
Yeah, I got a couple of just a quick things.
So we'll probably do our normal rotation, which is Spain, France, England, Italy. Spain, France, England, Italy. Wait a minute.
Germany.
Spain, France, England, Germany, Italy, MLS. All right, so Spain. Rob, what do you got for us in the transfer window in Spain?
Oh, it's been a quiet transfer window in Spain, to say the least. We don't have as much transfers as I've been remembering, but there are some. There are some transfers. We have one, Martin Montoya of Inter. Mm-hmm. He was on loan from Barcelona, is now going to Real Betis. We also have, we have also Lucas Orban of Valencia going to Levante on loan. We have, Federico Fazio of Spurs in England going to Sevilla on loan. Dennis Khrushchev, the guy who, the guy that got into the Copa del Rey match illegally, is going to Valencia.
I saw that today.
Yep, and how ironic that he's going to be playing. Well, I'm assuming he's going to be playing Barcelona in the Copa del Rey semifinals. It's a bit ironic.
Well, I assume the suspension would apply to the player too, Rob.
It does. But
Yeah, so he's not going to be playing.
I don't think
he's suspended.
so.
No, I'm pretty sure he can't get away with playing illegally, and only the team gets suspended. You both get suspended.
Well,
I would think. If it isn't like that, then that's just totally weird. Because any other sport, the player would be punished too, not just the team.
I think they're both punished for it. So,
right. But if there's anything I'm trying to remember as well, I think that's it. I think that's all that.
Obviously, the big names are going to come up. I'm sorry?
I said that really was quiet in Spain.
Yeah, it is. Nothing really. Nothing from Barcelona, nothing from Real Madrid, nothing from Atletico Madrid. Well, they got a few names from Atletico Madrid earlier. They got Augusto Fernandez of Celta Vigo and Matias Cannaviter of River Plate. But that's all I can remember. But yeah, it's been quiet in Spain. Not much being made.
Well, I also, guys, we have said that this particular transfer window is always a little lighter than what we normally see. So
I think a couple of those teams in Spain keeping their powder dry for the summer now that they've got their suspensions at least put off until at least one more window. So I would expect a lot of move from 2 teams in Spain this summer.
Yeah. So, before I hit the France stuff, I did see God, I'm kind of getting tongue-tied here. A stat on a television. I forget which show it was, but they were talking about transfer fees. What countries or what leagues have spent what? And I was kind of surprised. Italy finished third with I think like 57 million, something like that, 57 million euro. Second place was actually England. I think at like 111 million. Did you guys know who number one was?
What period are we talking about?
For this winter transfer window.
Oh, but this wasn't including what's happened today.
Correct. It did not include what was happened today. But
I would say England probably went ahead today. Do we know who the first?
I don't know because there was a significant jump to first place from the 111 that England posted. It was China.
China.
Amazing. The Chinese Super League was 157 million spent in this transfer window.
And what was ML or EPL at?
111.
Right, but there was 20 million spent on at least one player today, so that takes it to 131.
At least 150, probably at the end of the
year. It'll be close by that time. It'll be close. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow, but that's still interesting that China's first going into the final day.
Agreed. It's amazing to see that they dished out that much money. So yeah, I would like to hear or see if something came up of that. I do want to move on to France quickly. And again, just like we said, it was quiet in Spain. It was kind of quiet in France too. I started writing some names down, and my Italy list is ridiculously long. But my France list, there wasn't much to speak of. The 3 that I wanted to mention here quickly are really on 2 teams that really needed the help. First of all, PSG did not need any help at all, and they really didn't spend. I think they brought in one player. I'm gonna effort his name right now as we're sitting here talking. But I think it was only one player, Rolly Pereira de Sa, on loan from. I'm sorry, they loaned him out from PSG to Paris FC. So that is the extent of their transfer window for PSG. I would have thought that they might have made maybe 1 or 2 more moves than that, just because of Champions League. But probably when they looked at it in the end, they're not going to gain enough quality, and they really don't need the quality in terms of what's going on in the league. They're 20 points ahead at this point. I mean,
they could show up. They could not show up for games and then still win the league and just field their Champions League.
Exactly. So they probably didn't need to do too much, and they're not under any transfer regulations or bans or anything like that I can think of. So
nope, they were lifted at the beginning of the year along with Man City's.
Yeah. So they're obviously they're cruising along. It's just going to be interesting to see how their team matches up in the Champions League play at the end of the month. To see if maybe they, quote-unquote, made a mistake. But I don't think they could have added anybody of quality that they wouldn't have taken from a cup-tied team. So probably best that they didn't do much of anything. But the 3 moves that I noticed, really, 2 of them on Marseille, which is important because Marseille, we've talked about them all year, about how they pretty much blew up their team status post their great run last year. Andre Pierre Gignac goes over to Mexico. They lose a Loco at the helm earlier in the season. They really kind of were dismantled and needed something. So they picked up a couple of nice pieces. They picked up Florian Thauvin from Newcastle, and they picked up Stephen Fletcher from Sunderland. And I think the two of them will really add a nice punch to the side, and maybe give Marseille enough to sneak themselves back into this league on, at least in terms of the European positions that Ligue 1 has available to them. Hopefully they'll do enough to get into there. There's not much to be done about Ligue 1 otherwise. The other interesting one that I believe happened today, gentlemen, was Mathieu Debuchy moving from Arsenal to Bordeaux. And I think I'd rather have you, Mike, speak to this one a little bit more, because I think it's an interesting move. It's a big defensive move. Bordeaux is also a pretty solid team, but have struggled as of late. So I think this is a great move for them, and I wonder how this will affect the Arsenal side. But other than that, guys, there really wasn't a whole heck of a lot that happened in the transfer window for France, and I don't think it needed to, because at this point the league is kind of self-determined. So, Mike, I'm going to send it over to you to talk about what's happened in England, aside from the Debuchy and the Stephen Fletcher moves. And actually, all three of these moves are guys from England to France. So, what do you got for us in England?
All right, there are quite a few moves as expected in England. Nothing hugely significant. I guess there was one a little before the window closed. But I'll go through it quickly by team. Bournemouth brought in Juan Urturbe from Roma on a loan deal. That was fairly big for them. A nice signing, hopefully. They also brought in, for an undisclosed amount, Benik Afobe from Wolves, Lewis Graben from Norwich. Arsenal with one significant signing in Mohamed El Nini. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
The pronunciation. Chelsea brought in Alexander Pato from Corinthians on loan and signed from the New York Red Bulls Matt Miazga. We all know about that one. I think you guys are both happy with that signing.
Hopefully.
Happy for Miazga, not happy for MLS.
Right. I disagree with you there. I think it's good for MLS.
If he performs well on the national team, then this explains everything.
Right.
Crystal Palace with one significant move, brought in the unattached Emmanuel Adebayor. Everton with a significant signing today of Nyasi from Lokomotiv Moscow, 13.5 million signing there. Leicester earlier in the window, I know they were looking to bring someone in at the close today, but I don't think they did. They were looking for a couple of strikers, but I don't think they got either of them. They did bring in Demarai Gray from Birmingham a little earlier in the window. Liverpool brought in Stephen Cocker on loan from QPR. They also recalled on loan from Aston Villa Thiago Alore. And they brought in earlier in the window from Red Star Belgrade Marko Grukic, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I'm not sure. He was immediately loaned right back. Man United brought in, canceled the loan deal for Adam Januzaj. Newcastle was pretty busy in this window. They brought in Henry Saviat from Bordeaux, John Joe Shelby from Swansea, Andros Townsend signed from Tottenham, and today they brought in Seydou Doumbia. Is that right, Joe,
yes,
from Roma?
Right. That's right.
And they brought him in today, so that was a significant signing for them. Norwich brought in a whole bunch of players, but only a couple of significance, perhaps. Patrick Bamford on loan from Chelsea. Stephen Naismith might prove to be a good signing for them from Everton. And they brought in Tim Klose from Wolfsburg. Southampton, a big signing for them. $7 million Charlie Austin from QPR. Stoke did have no signing until today, and then they brought in who again, Rob?
I'm sorry?
Stoke?
Today. Oh, they brought Gianni Imbula.
For $18.3 million, and that was a record signing for Stoke City, beating their previous record signing from the summer window of Shaqiri. Anything else big, Joe? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Swansea added Leroy Furr on loan from QPR this afternoon. Watford actually did bring in a couple of guys. They brought in Mario Suarez from Fiorentina. Joe, you must know him.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty good player.
And they brought in Costo Pantilimon from Sunderland, backup goalkeeping, although he's been starting. And West Brom actually made a couple additions too. They brought in Sandro on loan from QPR, formerly of Tottenham. And they brought in from Tottenham Alex Pritchard on loan. And I think that's about it for the significant signings.
All right. I guess over to Germany. Let's talk about what some of the big ones were in Germany. Rob.
Nothing much in Germany at the moment. However, Bayern, the expected champions in a few weeks, did make a signing, and a crucial one. With the injury of Jerome Boateng, they did sign a center back, 28-year-old from Spartak Moscow, Serdar Tashki. So therefore, that's going to be something that the Germans needed in Pep Guardiola's final season before heading to Manchester City. Yeah. But no, nothing other than that. Nothing big at the moment. We have Marco Fabian leaving Chivas to go to Eintracht Frankfurt.
And playing well. He played well there. He's 2 games in now because he went at the beginning of the window and he really, really I shouldn't say that. I don't know how he did this weekend. I think Eintracht, they drew this weekend 0-0. But the week before he was, he came on at the half and he was pretty influential in in Eintracht's 2 goals. I don't think he factored in on the scoring, but he was part of the plays that made those goals happen. So they were very, very happy, talking big things about him, over that after that match.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. They bought it. Werder Bremen bought in Papi Dijobi from Chelsea, the Senegalian. Mm-hmm. They also another club, Stuttgart. They brought in Kevin Grodzewicz from Galatasaray. Okay. And I guess one mention is for a Paraguayan. A Paraguayan has made it to the Bundesliga. Dario Lescano of Luzern in Switzerland has joined Ingolstadt in a match that in his debut just a few days ago, were robbed. Don't you think, Joe? I think you saw that match against Dortmund, right?
Yes, I did. He was. That was on the goal that they drew back from Subotic. I'm not Subotic. Mats Hummels. Mats Hummels, where the ref called it a foul. That was kind of ridiculous. If that was a foul, that was awfully soft, and the ball goes over Berkey's head and into the goal, and everyone was losing their minds, and all of a sudden Hummels was like, no, and then the ref comes over and blows the play dead because he called it a foul, and I was like, it's a little soft. So
that was his debut as well.
That was too bad. That was a hustle play for me, and I didn't think he fouled him. I thought that was a little much.
Definitely, but nothing much in Germany at the moment. Let's go to Italy, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be as busy as Mike here at this point. And a couple of these I'm going to save. The Ashley Cole and the Nigel de Jong one, I'm going to actually save those for you, Mike. But looking at some moves here, one that I do want to point out quickly was the move of Eder from Sampdoria to Inter Milan, and we're going to talk about this in the Derby della Madonnina in a few minutes, and when we cover Italy. But I think this is a huge move for Inter because they were having a little bit of trouble scoring goals as of late. Stefan Jovetic wasn't getting it done. I'm surprised they're not having they don't have as much faith in Mauro Icardi as they did last year, and this guy's the capocannoniere, and they're really just not playing him nearly as much as I think they should. I don't know if he's in Mancini's doghouse or what, but it's not happening for him there. And honestly, I'm surprised they didn't move him along at this point and give the guy a chance somewhere else. But they brought in Eder, and he's a fantastic player. He's a Italian national team player, comes over from Brazil. You know the book about him, and I think he's a great addition to Inter. Fabio Quagliarella was sent from Torino to Sampdoria, partially to cover the Eder move. Obviously, Quagliarella, he's been through Juventus, now through Torino, now he's at Sampdoria, and a good player, but obviously getting up there in age. I don't know that he's going to be enough to keep Samp out of the relegation zone. They're running dangerously low right now, and we'll look at them in a few minutes. The other thing that Sampdoria added was they added Ranocchia from Inter, who just really isn't he hasn't caught on at Inter. We had Nima on a couple weeks ago, and Nima was like, this guy stinks. I also want to say that Nima was right about Brozovic. I watched him, and he was right about David Santon, and we'll talk about that in the derby in a few minutes. Those guys were god-awful. But Ranocchia is going to get another chance at Samp, and maybe it'll be enough for him to get through. Mike, you had mentioned the Seydou Doumbia move from Roma to Newcastle. We'll leave that one at that. I do want to talk about two of the moves to China. We talked about just at the beginning of this transfer segment that China was a big spender. Two of the guys they spent on, I think they spent $18 million. I need to double check the number, but Gervinho, they bought Gervinho from Roma for I think $18 million, and they also bought Freddy Guarin from Inter for an undisclosed amount. Personally, I'm kind of sad to see those guys go. I do like watching them play, and I think they're gonna dominate when they get over to China. So they're gonna be fun to watch there. But unfortunately, they're gone from here. They were sold in this particular window. Ashley Cole, I mentioned, Mike, I'm leaving that one to you. Stefan El Sharawi moves from AC Milan via Monaco, where he was on loan, to a permanent move to Roma now. So we'll see how that pans out. El Sharawi is a young guy. I think he's 23. Been trying to get his career restarted after some serious knee injuries at AC Milan. Looked like he was showing some flashes of brilliance at Monaco, but then it just didn't pan out for him there. So now he's back in Italy, and we'll see if he gets comfortable and moves on from there. AC Milan moved Alessio Cerci from Milan to Genoa. Tello moved from Barca to Fiorentina, which I think, Rob, you had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And Giuseppe Rossi moved, we kind of heard about this. He moved from Fiorentina currently to Levante on loan, but I think the deal is he's at Levante on loan, and then he will be moving to Villarreal, I think, which is where he was a couple of years ago. So hoping for the best for him. I mean, this is a guy that's really just been plagued by knee injuries, and you'd think that the guy deserves a break. So a couple of other ones were Emmanuelson moving from Atalanta to Hellas. We have a Kevin Prince Boateng sighting. He moved from Schalke to AC Milan. So we did see that particular move happen here as well. I'm just looking through my list. Juan Zuniga, who is the Colombian international, moved from Napoli to Bologna. Alessandro Diamanti, who was over in China, moved back to Atalanta to play for them at striker. Ciro Immobile is on loan from Borussia Dortmund to Torino, probably to replace the Quagliarella move that Quagliarella moved to Samp. And not too much after that. We had some decent size names, but not a lot of big stuff from Juventus, and not a lot of big stuff from Napoli, who I'd like to talk about. We'll talk about later on in the show. The two big teams that are really putting some separation between them and the rest of the league. So we'll see. Again, it kind of took the PSG path. I mean, Rob, you'd mentioned Barca really didn't do much. The leaders in England didn't do a ton of stuff, anything really drastic. So we'll have to see. But that's kind of the wrap in Italy. Again, from what I saw, third highest expenditure in this particular transfer window. So we'll see what it does for the players in the league. So, Mike, we haven't covered MLS since December because they've been off, and they are getting back to they're coming up, I think, in a month, right, Mike? Right, about a month.
I think it was actually 6 weeks on Sunday.
Okay, there you go. So, but they're active in this transfer window too. So, whatever little tidbits you've got for us, I'd love to hear them as we start to focus back towards North and Central America.
All right, there's been a lot of activity, Joe, so I don't want to go through it all because each team does so much in the MLS throughout the offseason. I'll just mention the recent ones and anything that I think is fairly significant. So I'll start all the way down with the Columbus Crew, who added a name that everyone's familiar with, free agent Connor Casey.
Wow. And he's still around, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I seen that too. But he's still effective, actually, when he's played on a substitute or a limited starting basis. DC United signed from a trade from Colorado, Marcelo Sarvis, today, actually. FC Dallas, all of that was pretty old. Houston, same thing. The busiest team, I guess, in the transfer window, like we talked about earlier, was the LA Galaxy. They brought in the last week Ashley Cole, Gel Van Dam. Before that, they had brought in Emmanuel Boateng, Mike McGee, Jeff Lawrence. So, and today we know they added Nigel Karate Kick DeYoung.
That's right.
So very busy. What do you think about their moves, Joe? I know you touched on it with Curtis about MLS retirement, but a couple of these players might be effective still.
I think they might be effective, especially, De Jong for me, I think will still be effective. The guy was a pit bull. But for me, I'm disappointed in the fact that the LA Galaxy got older. And I didn't think that they needed to get older. I think they needed to get younger. They started to with his name is was it Bradford Jameson, who's seen some time at the national team. You've got Giassi Zardes, who I think he's very young. He's like 22 or 23. So they have some youth there, and I was hoping that they would continue with that type of a movement instead. But they didn't. They went old, and not for nothing, Steven Gerrard didn't really impress. The only old guy that's impressive on the LA Galaxy is Robbie Keane. Gerrard, for me, did not impress, so I'm hoping De Jong doesn't follow in those footsteps. But, the other thing I want to point out is that how does the LA Galaxy, with a couple of these DPs like Robbie Keane, like Steven Gerrard, get to add all these foreign players?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's some creative accounting there. I'm not. I know there's that. What was it called? That TAM money.
Yep.
And they've said that they've signed all three of these players, Cole, Van Dam, and Nigel de Jong, for under 1 point something million. All three of them.
That doesn't sound right to me. Why would guys like Ashley Cole and Nigel de Jong?
Well, I can see why Ashley Cole would. He might have says he has offers. I believe this was probably his only offer.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's.
Don't you? You know him from Italy. He wasn't even playing.
I do, but he wasn't playing because he was on Roma. I mean, he could have found a team somewhere. He could have found a mid-table French team and picked up some cash. I don't think.
But maybe not as much as MLS money.
But it's got to be more.
How old? He's like 30-something years old.
He's like 35 or 36. I know.
Yeah, I don't know how much money there is in France for a 35 or 36-year-old Ashley Cole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe you're right, but I don't think. I think there's at least $1 million.
Really?
Yeah, I do. That's in this day and age, that's not a lot of money for a footballer.
I think it is for a few of the mid-table French teams, though.
I'd have to go and look at some salaries and see what's going on there.
I think a few of their teams are probably comparable to some of the championship teams, and they're not spending $1 million on too many teams in the players in the championship.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to do some homework after the show tonight and take a look. But yeah, so that still is an interesting subtopic. We saw Jordan Morris go to Seattle. We'll have to see how that goes. I personally would. I understand why he went to Seattle, although not Seattle necessarily. Although Seattle's his hometown team, but he's going to have a tough time breaking in there with Clint Dempsey and.
I think he has a pretty tight relationship with Ziggy too, though.
He might, but
I think he's even described him as a second father.
But what's he going to have to do to supplant Obafemi Martins or Clint Dempsey?
Well, I think he provides good cover for both of them, who were oft injured last season.
Right, but he could have provided good cover in Germany too.
But he's still young enough.
Yeah, and he has that at his advantage. So he could spend a year or two at Seattle and then take the DeAndre Yedlin route and run over to Europe. And it sounded like things at Werder Bremen really went well for him when he was working out with the team before making the decision. It sounded like things were really going well for him. So I think that Werder Bremen door is open, and it wouldn't shock me to see him in Germany in, let's say, 2 years.
Yeah, no, or somewhere in Europe anyway.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, let's talk about Matt Miazga for a minute, Mike, because obviously that transfer happened here in this window. It's clear that Chelsea has decided that Kurt Zouma and Matt Miazga is their defensive back pairing for the long distance future. You're looking at guys that odds are going to be the next defensive pairing at Chelsea for the next 6-7 years. As a guy that covers both leagues, you've seen Matt Miazga. I've seen him. We've seen him play with the national team. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful talent. I think the kid's got a great head for the ball. I think he's big. I think he's strong, and he's going to get stronger. He's only 21, I think, if I remember correctly. The kid's eligible to play at the Olympics. He's eligible to play pretty much everywhere. What are your thoughts on the Zuma-Miazga pairing? I mean, at Chelsea, do you think that's going to be enough? I mean, they're replacing legends in John Terry.
Well, I'll be surprised if Matt Miazga ever makes that starting 11 on a full-time basis. I'm not cutting him up, but no. They're obviously going to have a new manager, but Chelsea in the last, 5-6 years doesn't have a good history of developing players. I think they actually have the most players right now out on loan in the whole Premier League.
Right.
Over 30.
I was going to say, I think you're right. It's a big number. Yeah,
it's over 30. For me, I would have rather seen him sign with a club like Southampton that actually does develop a young player like him. They actually do it with players starting at a younger age, but they also have a good history of bringing in some players, Graziano Pelle, a few other players like that, and really reviving or even starting a great career for some of these players in Southampton. And I think he would have got a lot better chance to play in Southampton. The Big Four, the problem is they don't really have the option of being patient with some of these young players.
Mm-hmm. I like the Southampton one as well because I've always been a big fan of Jose Font. I think he works really, really hard on that back line, and I think a guy like Miazga could have learned quite a bit from him. My curiosity is what happens to John Terry. We heard about the whole contract not being reoffered, all that good stuff. What happens at John Terry? Because if John Terry were staying at Chelsea for another year or two, I think that would be great for Matt Miazga. I think he would learn a ridiculous amount from a guy like John Terry, and built kind of in the similar style, I think. But with Terry leaving, that I'm not as big on the move as I was as if John Terry was staying to mentor.
What, you don't want him learning from Gary Cahill?
Okay, Rob. Help, Rob.
No, it's a good move for him. That's for sure. It's look, the main part is he's the first American ever to play for Chelsea. It's for a big club, defending champions. So obviously not in a good position at the moment, but he's going to learn a lot. He's going to learn a lot from Gus Hiddink. He's going to learn a lot from whoever's going to replace him at the end of the start of next season. I think that with the development that the club has had in the past few seasons, he's going to learn a lot. He's going to learn a lot, and it doesn't matter if he's with Terry, with Cahill, Zuma, anyone else of any defenders as well. Mm-hmm. But he's going to learn a lot. That's in the end, he's going to learn a lot because of that English style mentality.
Yeah, I agree. He will certainly learn a lot. Now, Rob, I know you and I have talked about it, and we kind of mentioned we would, as a defensive player, we would have rather have seen him go to Italy.
I would even rather seen him sign for one of the big championship teams.
I would much rather see him go to Italy than go to a championship team. He's going to learn more. He's going to learn.
No, but I'm talking about one of the big championship teams, meaning one of the ones that's about to be promoted,
like Borough or something like that.
Yeah, one of them where he's actually probably going to get more playing time than even this year than he'd ever get with Chelsea. He might actually be able to play for one of those teams.
That's true.
This year,
that's true.
You won't see him on Chelsea this year.
No, if he gets in, it'll be after all is said and done, after they've secured their way through to the next year. Because they're probably going to get eliminated from Champions League. So I think you're right. I think it will be towards the end of the season. You'll probably see him chosen a little bit more.
And you really have to, you learn how to scrap and fight for every ball down in the championship.
Yeah, of course.
And that's good for a guy like that to get toughened up at that age.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, gentlemen, I don't know that we have much else left in the transfer window. Like I said, other than maybe one or two places where the window's still open for a little bit longer.
Just a couple more quick MLS ones.
Oh,
Joe.
yes, please.
Drogba back to the Montreal Impact. Big move for them. A player you guys might know that I'm not familiar with, but American, and I'm not sure if he's an international, but Mikey Lopez.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard the name as well.
To the New York City FC, that is. Red Bull's pretty quiet in the last few days. Same with the Orlando, Philadelphia. Portland actually re-signed Ned Grabavoy, or signed Ned Grabavoy, free agent. They also brought in Jack McInerney, another name that we keep hearing over and over every year from Portland. Real Salt Lake, nobody of significance. Chad Barrett brought into San Jose. Seattle, Michael Fairfan brought in on a free. And of course, another one you might want to mention, Jordan Morris, although you did already. Homegrown Seattle Sounders. That was probably a big signing for them. Lawrence Alum, not probably, it was a huge signing, obviously, for them. Lawrence Alum from Free for Sporting Kansas City. And we already mentioned the 4 players Toronto FC brought in. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that the Vancouver Whitecaps signed Canadian international Fraser Ard on loan from the Ranger FC on the weekend.
You know, guys, one thing I'm missing here, and I know that these transfers happened, were guys like Omar Gonzalez, who went to Mexico from LA Galaxy. Jorge Villafaña went from Portland to Liga MX. I don't see any of those transfers listed here anywhere, which I'm kind of shocked.
I have them. I just skipped them. I have that because they were more than a couple weeks ago. Omar Gonzalez was transferred on the 22nd of December to Pachuca.
Okay.
Pachuca. Who was the other name you said, Joe? Sorry.
It was Jorge Villafaña from Portland.
Okay. I do have something on that. He was transferred to Santos Laguna on the 11th of December.
And there's one other name that's just escaping. Oh, Juninho went from the LA Galaxy as well to Mexico.
Juninho did.
Did he go to Tijuana, I think?
He was transferred on the day before Christmas, so Christmas Eve, to Club Tijuana.
Tijuana, that's what I thought. So that was kind of interesting to me to see those moves from MLS to Liga MX. I thought that was kind of interesting to see that. We didn't see really any players from Liga MX coming to MLS, though, did we?
No, I guess we took their big one last year.
Well, Dos Santos?
Yeah.
No, he came from Spain.
Well, not, but I mean a big Mexican name, I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not a player from the Mexican League, but a big Mexican name that they were actually looking to bring to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
A few of the clubs. So.
And he went to MLS instead, that's true. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll have to, we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens when the CONCACAF Champions League kicks back off. I think that's coming up in a couple of weeks as well. Because like we said, we've got Mexico versus the United States in that one. We've got 4 MLS sides versus 4 Mexican sides, and it's going to be interesting to see. And they're matched up exactly that way. So it'll be interesting to see how things take shape in that tournament, to see how many MLS sides or how many Liga MX sides move on, and then go from there. So. It's just going to be fun to watch. The rivalry continues between Mexico and the United States, that's for sure. So
yeah, no players brought in from Liga MX.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, let's put a bow tie on the. Yes.
Actually, no. Let's not put a bow tie on it yet.
No, fair enough.
There's some in South America, maybe, that you want to talk about. That you want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Danny Osvaldo, the controversial Italian player, is at Boca Juniors again.
He's back. I didn't know that he left.
Yeah, he went to Porto.
That's right.
For summer.
Yep.
Now he's back at Boca. Jonathan Canieri, the subject of all things happening, the controversial transfer of him, is at São Paulo. He is at São Paulo in Brazil.
Okay.
He will play Copa Libertadores Wednesday. Wednesday night will be his first match in a São Paulo jersey.
Okay.
Victor Ibarbo of Watford has gone to Mike. I think you've heard his name before.
Yeah, Barbo at Watford, of course.
Yes, he's at Atlético Nacional in Colombia.
Okay.
Going to Colombia, so
that's a big.
That's another move, and no, that's about it basically. That's just wanted to mention those key ones, but yeah, that's it.
And obviously the Pato move to Chelsea from
Corinthians.
From Corinthians, yep. So that's a move coming out of
South America.
So. All right, gentlemen. Now we'll put the bow on it. How's that? Let's head over and do our normal our normal league coverage and match of the week. We'll go over last week's match and we'll preview this upcoming week. I know that we have extra games this week in a couple of different leagues. We have midweek matches in France, Italy, and England. And with the German matches, Rob, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the schedule for this week. I chose one particular match, but there were like 4 matches you could have chosen in Germany. It's really going to be the league to watch this coming weekend. So, but let's start off in Spain. Let's kick it off there and go over what's happened in Spain.
Yes, our match of the week in Spain was a good one. It was Barcelona against Atletico Madrid, 2 teams who were tied in the La Liga, with Barcelona with the advantage with the game at hand. We predicted a 1-0 victory for Barcelona. The result ended in a feisty, cage fighty, I don't know what to say. It was an alley fight, 2-1 victory for Barcelona. Goal from Koke took the lead early in the 10th minute for Atletico Madrid, and then Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez scored to give Barcelona the 3 points. But in the end, Atletico Madrid ended up playing with 9 men. I'm sure all of us got to see this match. What are your guys' opinions on this match, Joe?
For me, it was like you described it perfectly, a cage match. It was very physical. Just looking at the statistics here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yellow cards handed out to Atletico, and none handed out to Barca. And I thought that kind of fell along the lines. I didn't think Barca was really quite that chippy. I mean, and Mike, I'll let you put your 2 cents in on that idea.
I didn't see the game, guys. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no.
I could have sworn but you saw the dive of Luis Suarez.
Yeah, and then I only just seen the first half. I didn't see the second half.
All right.
The Felipe Luis red card, absolutely. Straight red, no doubt about it. You come in with your spikes that high on anybody. I mean, yeah, he did it to Messi, which really doesn't help the situation, but you come in with your spikes that high against anybody, and you're gonna get sent off. So I have no problem with that. I know, Mike, you had said that the Luis Suarez, the Diego Godin foul on Luis Suarez in the 65th minute was a dive, and I think Suarez embellished it a little bit, but when Godin goes to the ground that late in that area where he doesn't even need to, I mean, Suarez is running out of the box with his back to goal to try and get the ball to slide there. Just to me is foolish, and he puts himself in that position, and he puts the referee in that position to make that call. So I thought that it was kind of a stupid foul. And it didn't help the situation. And again, once Barca went down to once Atletico went down to 9 men, that everything was said and done. Barca had 71% of the possession, and of course you're gonna give them two extra players on the pitch. Of course they're gonna possess for 70-80%. I mean, it's just unheard of not to do that. So, it was feisty. Was it called one way? Maybe when you look at the yellow cards and the amount of yellow cards that went to Atletico Madrid versus what went to Barca. But, some of those fouls were just dumb fouls. And maybe it was a little over-aggression. Maybe it was stupidity. I don't know. But it just, in the end, it certainly did not work out for them.
No, absolutely. And then, but besides that, Barcelona did get the 3 points and are top of the league with the game in hand, which is very important. As that stands, we have Atletico Madrid in second with 48 points. In third, Real Madrid, who also won, with 47. Villarreal in fourth with 44. Sevilla in fifth with 36 points. Bilbao in sixth in the last European spot with 34 points. Rounding off the relegation zone, we have Rayo Vallecano, Granada, and Levante at the relegation zone. Top goal scorers remain Cristiano Ronaldo, who scored a hat-trick against Espanyol yesterday in a 6-0 win. Luis Suarez as well with 19, Benzema with 18, Neymar with 16, and Baston of Eibar with 15 goals. That's a bit impressive. But the match of the week for this week in Spain is going to be a good one. Celta Vigo against Sevilla, as we have 7th against 5th, which the winner of this match could easily be in one of the European spots come after Sunday.
Right, and you want to put a label on it?
I think I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Celta Vigo. They're at home. They've won a lot of games at home, despite the bad form that they're in. Only one win in their last 6, but I'm going to give them. It's going to be close. 2-1 Celta Vigo. 2-1
Celta. All right, and that match is Sunday at 12:15 p.m. So keep an eye out on that. Let's head over to Ligue 1 then, and Ligue 1, our match of the week was Angers Monaco, and I had taken in this one a 2-1 victory for Monaco, and of course, as everyone knows, I got it wrong. Angers 3-0 on this one with goals from a brace from Ndoye and Yatara adding one in the 55th minute to put the cap on this one. Statistical information. Monaco held the ball possession 57-43. Shots, though, were 18-9 in favor of Angers, and shots on goal were 8-4 in favor of Angers as well. And this Angers team has really done everything they can to stay in these European positions, moving through here. So looking at the tables quickly, like we had said, PSG's pretty much wrapped this up. They're 24 points ahead of Monaco in second place. PSG's on 63 points, Monaco on 39. Angers now only 2 points behind them on 37. And Angers is in the playoff position for the Champions League, gentlemen. So that's a pretty big deal. Nice and Caen both on 36 points in fourth and fifth. Rennes in sixth on 34. Then we have Bordeaux and Saint Etienne on 33. Nantes on 32, and Marseille topping off mid-table at 31 points. The relegation zone looks like Troyes on 11, Toulouse on 20, and Reims on 23, with Montpellier just outside at 25 points. Gazalec Ajaccio on 26 points, tied with Lille. 14th place takes us to Guingamp on 27, Bastia in 13th on 28, and Lorient and Lyon both have 30 points each. So, gentlemen, we talked about the transfer window. The addition of Stephen Flesher and Florian Thauvin from Marseille, I think, is big. You've got to look at a team here that is really just 6 points outside of the European positions. It's 6 points behind of Angers. It's going to be interesting to see if those guys can take these last 15 matches and try to nose their way into a European position. So one of the other things I want to mention is the top scorers in the Ligue 1 at the moment. We have Zlatan Ibrahimovic leading the way still with 19 goals. Batshuayi on 12 goals at Marseille. Mukanjo at Lorient on 11. And Ben Arfa and Cavani on 10 goals each, rounding out the top 5 goal scorers in Ligue 1. Our match of the week this week, boys, is going to be Monaco-Nice on Saturday at 8 a.m. Just going to take a quick look at this particular information of this match. But Monaco in second place. I believe Nice is in fourth place at the moment. So we've got a pretty good matchup ahead of us here. Looking at this quickly, it looks like Monaco is the favorite to especially at home. Their last 5 matches, Monaco has won 3 and won 3, draw 1, and lost 1. Their loss was to Angers just this past week, 3-0. You look at Nice. Nice is 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. Most recently, losing 2-0 to Caen on the road. So Nice coming home for this one. Nice is going to be on the road for this one as well. They're going to be in Monaco at the Principality, and I think they're going to have a heck of a time. Monaco also looking to maintain their hold on that last Champions League position in France. I'm going to take Monaco in this one 2-0. I think they're going to have what it takes to get that done. So, Mike, I'm going to send it over to you to the Premier League, and obviously keep in mind we have midweek games as well.
All right, so we had no games last week, so the table and everything else has not changed, so I won't repeat that. Next week we will have a lot of changes, though, because we do have midweek games tomorrow and Wednesday, and then a full slate of games again at the weekend. This past week, though, we did see the FA Cup. I'll just give the draw for the next round of the FA Cup, which is to take place on the 20th and the 21st of February. It's AFC Bournemouth versus Everton, Arsenal and Hull, Blackburn versus to be determined West Ham or Liverpool, I believe, Chelsea versus Manchester City, Reading will play to be determined. I can't remember exactly who that replay is. Shrewsbury takes on Manchester United, Tottenham takes on Crystal Palace, and Watford takes on Leeds. And on the next day's match, actually, that is the only matches on that, sorry. So after this round, we could have left 8 Premier League teams, and like Rob said yesterday, that would be boring.
Something like that, right? All right.
I agree with them there. So our game of the week this week is a real doozy. It is a battle of first place. It's Leicester on top, Manchester City in second, followed by Arsenal. So this game is Manchester City versus Leicester at the Etihad, Saturday at 7:45. If we have a winner in this one of them will be in first place. A draw, of course, then it would depend on whatever happens with the Arsenal game. So 7:45 on Saturday at the Etihad, and I'll put my prediction out on Friday.
Sounds
good way to start your day.
Absolutely, yeah, that's definitely a good way to wake up.
I hate the early ones, but yeah, I gotta have to get up early.
Yeah, you got to see that one. That's a must.
Yeah.
That actually, of all the matches we have this week, that I think is the must see of the week. If not that, then I think this next match in the Bundesliga that Rob's going to talk about, I think would be the one. But yeah, it's certainly City Leicester. That's no doubt about it. So, but Rob, Bundesliga time.
Yes, that's right. In the Bundesliga, we had our match of the week. It was Wolfsburg against Cologne. We predicted a 2-1 victory for Wolfsburg. It ended in a 1-1 draw for both teams, and goals came from Julian Draxler in the 67th minute. And then Cologne ended up tying it in the 75th minute from Anthony Modeste. As it stands in the Bundesliga, Bayern are still top with 52 points. Borussia Dortmund in second with 44. Hertha Berlin in third with 34. Bayer Leverkusen in fourth with 31 points. Schalke is in fifth with 30 points. And Borussia Mönchengladbach in sixth with 29 points. Top goal scorers are Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who scored a brace, I believe. Yes, he scored a brace against Ingolstadt over the weekend. That puts him on to 20 goals. Lewandowski also in a 2-0 victory, also scored over the weekend. Got 19 goals. Muller with 14. Chicharito Hernandez, who's continued to be more impressive every weekend, week out, with 13 goals for the for Leverkusen, and Alexander Meyer for Frankfurt with 10 goals. Our match of the week this week in Germany is going to be a really, really good one in Germany, don't you think, guys? It's going to be Schalke against Wolfsburg. Schalke is currently in fifth with 30 points, as I previously mentioned, and Wolfsburg is in seventh with 27 points. So a win for Wolfsburg would definitely, one of these teams are definitely going to be in the European spots come the start of next week. But for me, I think, that's a good one. I think Wolfsburg do it. I think they do it. I think they get a close victory against Schalke, 1-0.
1-0 for Wolfsburg over Schalke on the road. We also want to mention this weekend that we saw 17-year-old Christian Pulisic from Pennsylvania get his match time for Borussia Dortmund this weekend. So that was kind of nice to see against Alfredo Morales, who plays for Ingolstadt. So we had a couple of Americans on the pitch this weekend in Germany, which was great to see. So I just looking at the times of our matches of the week. You start off your day with Man City at 7:45. At the half, you go over and catch a little bit of the Monaco-Nice game, which starts at 8 a.m. And then once the City match ends, then you can jump over to the Schalke-Wolfsburg match at 9:30. So plan to spend at least 3 or 4 hours in bed catching a little bit of football this Saturday. So
and do it all before Sunday.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because the Sunday match is just a singular one. But and of course, because we have midweek matches in Italy, our match of the week is actually a midweek match. It is going to be actually no. You know what? Before I even talk about that, yeah, you know what? Let's do that real quick. We'll get that out of the way. Sassuolo Roma, which is going to be this weekend. Sassuolo currently is in 7th place. They're in 33 points. They are 5 points behind Roma, can obviously close that gap with a victory over them on Tuesday, tomorrow. That match is at 2:45 in the afternoon. I think, the thing with Roma lately is they've been masters of the draw. They beat Frosinone this weekend, but who wouldn't do that? They did lose to Juventus 1-0, but before that they had 3 draws with Chievo, AC Milan, and Verona, Hellas. So I'm going to take another draw. I'm going to take a 1-1 draw in this one, and I know I'm kind of doing it a little backwards, but I want to spend a few minutes on our match of the week because it was absolutely stellar to watch, and also I went back and looked at the statistical information for this match, gentlemen, for our match of the week, and head to head, these two teams, they either draw or Roma wins, and usually Roma wins on the road. So I'm kind of going against the grain a little bit here. Roma's won their last 2 matches against Sassuolo on the road, 3-0 and 2-0. But when they play at the Stadio Olimpico, it is 1-1, 2-2, and 2-2 for their last 5 matches. So going a little against the grain on that one. We'll have to see how it turns out. But I do want to spend a few minutes on our match of the week, guys, before we wrap up the show here tonight. And it was the Derby della Madonnina. First, I'm going to ask, did either of you guys get a chance to see this match?
Yes.
Okay,
Mike?
Mike?
The entire game.
Mike, how about you?
I watched it till it got stupid.
Well,
Score-wise.
Yeah, well, the goals were late in this one, but our prediction on this one, or my prediction on this one, was wrong. Again, I had taken Inter Milan in a 2-1 victory. I thought even giving that one goal for AC Milan was going to be a little much. Seeing that Inter was the best defensive team in the league. This turned into a 3-0 victory for AC Milan. We had a goal from Alex in the 35th minute on a header, which was a set piece from a corner kick. We had Carlos Bacca, who makes a fantastic run in the 73rd minute, where Mbai Niang gets him the ball into space behind Miranda to score the second goal. And then Niang himself makes a nice move and scores 4 minutes later to seal the deal on this one. I think the turning point of this game, guys, because this game, for me, was 50-50 for the most part. Maybe Inter was playing a little bit better, but not a whole heck of a lot. But I thought the best move of the match was when Mauro Icardi was brought on in the 64th minute. Alex makes a stupid play in the 69th minute to foul Icardi on basically what was a second shot, and it turns into a penalty kick. Now, you'd expect a guy like Mauro Icardi to be able to convert this thing. He puts it off the post, and that is really where the game turned on a dime, because 3 minutes later, Bacca scores to really put the nail in the coffin. I was impressed with the play of Eder, especially in the first half. Second half wasn't so much. Everyone wants to talk about the defensive liability on the corner kick for Eder when the first goal was scored by Alex. Inter doesn't bring Eder onto the team to play defense. So, could he have put a little more pressure out there? Yeah, he could have on Kensuke Honda, but whatever. Not for nothing. David Santon's got to get in front of him, especially when Juan Jesus just all of a sudden falls asleep and lets Alex just run right through the middle. Santon's got to recognize that and jump in. So I thought the two of them had terrible games. I also thought Brozovic in the midfield was awful. Santon was victimized on the second goal. In the third goal by Niang, where he just basically falls asleep at midfield, gets stripped of the ball. It goes to Niang. He scores. Easy game. So that I thought was a little ridiculous as well. But I was really surprised at the fortitude that AC Milan showed, and I was surprised at the lack of defense, especially on the wings, that Inter displayed in this match. Kensuke Honda had himself a fantastic game. And for someone that has been, somewhat lackluster over the past, I'd say 4 or 5 weeks, was good to see out of him. So, that was my take on it overall. Rob, how about you? What did you think of the match and some of the individual performances?
Yeah, like you said about Eder, I think he did a fantastic. He made a fantastic debut despite the loss for Inter, but it was great to see how good the midfield of AC Milan was doing. The defensive line of Inter was not as expected that it should be. We have Murillo up in the back with Miranda and all those others. Santon, who was terrible, as you mentioned. It wasn't really good to see. Icardi, of course, the penalty missed by Icardi proved to be the turning point for the 3 points for AC Milan. They ended up scoring 2 goals within 4 minutes after that. And it shows that even with all these transfers happening in Inter, that nothing was able to be achieved. And Inter, who were top of the table at one point early in the season, has now fallen to, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, fourth?
I believe they are fourth. I was just going to look at that right now. They are currently fourth.
They're fourth, yeah. So quite a falling from grace, that's for sure. But first win for AC Milan since 2014. First time 3 goals have been scored in a Derby della Madonnina since 2012.
Yeah.
All the results ended up in 0-1, 1-1, 1-0, 1-0, 1-1-0, and 1 and 0-0. Sounds like a binary code in cursing, but I'm not going to say anything.
Well,
you didn't mention that Mancini was sent off.
Oh, him as well. Yeah,
I didn't even get that far, but yeah, he was sent off. In the second half for protesting, and they finally sent him off as well. Rob, your comment is actually what Drake Cordero said on the broadcast.
Exactly.
He said that the score lines in Italy read like a binary code between these two teams, and he goes, "I don't know if I just swore in binary or something like that."
Yeah,
but
something like that.
yeah, Mancini. Mike, to your point, Mancini got sent off. I don't even think the stat is here as to when, because I don't think anybody even realized that he got sent off. All of a sudden, it was like the commentators who were Matteo Bonetti and Dre Cordero. Where all of a sudden we're like, Mancini's been sent off and blah, blah, blah. And it was a shock to them. So,
I was watching the BT coverage, I guess, and they actually did have him being escorted out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't realize that they didn't see that.
Yeah. They missed it, on their feed. So, and then we had a Balotelli signing. He comes on in the 79th minute, gets a yellow card in the 80th. So all things are well in Italy. But for me, I thought it was a pretty entertaining game. There was certainly, quite a bit of pace to the game, especially I think, and that's Rob, what you had said a little bit. Adair kind of brought that to the table, where I thought Inter was really the dominator in the beginning of the match, but not so much towards the end. They did hold the edge on possession, 53-47. The goal attempts were 14-12 in favor of AC Milan. 5-3 shots on goal for AC Milan as well. Not much more than that. Here's an interesting stat that I think, or at least shows, in terms of the attacking, Inter Milan was never offsides.
He's right.
So, how aggressive are you being up top? I mean, Adair was aggressive, but he was aggressive with the ball in his feet. So I was unimpressed with Stefan Jovetic, yesterday. I mean, Mike, I know he's a Man City. He was a former Man City player. I don't know if you got to watch his play so much, but I didn't care for it. And I don't know why they let him start over Mauro Icardi. Mike, you have anything to mention?
Yeah,
about
I
that?
didn't really notice his play either. So I guess that when you're a striker and you're not noticed, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Rob, how about you?
Yeah, same as what Mike said.
So, but that was it. The other thing that I want to mention in Italy before I hit the tables is we're starting to see some separation. And we're going to talk about this next week. But Napoli and Juventus with big wins again. Juventus with their 12th straight. I think Napoli with their 5th. We saw Napoli 5-1 over the weekend against Empoli. We saw Juventus 4-0 over Chievo. And these two teams really are starting to hit on all cylinders right now. And it's starting to be scary as to what these guys can do. Also, another little fact I want to mention to you, gentlemen, is the best defensive team in Italy right now, Juventus.
Mm-hmm.
Only allowed 15 goals. Obviously, it didn't help that Inter gave up 3 this weekend. So, but the table looks like this. Napoli on 50 points, Juventus in second on 48, Fiorentina in third on 42, Inter on 41, Roma on 38, and Milan just outside the European positions on 36 points in 6th place. Right behind them is Sassuolo on 33, Lazio on 32, Empoli on 32, and rounding out the top 10 is Bologna on 29 points. The bottom of the table looks like this. Verona on 11 points, Frosinone on 16, Carpi on 19. Then just outside to Sampdoria on 23 points, losers of 4 straight. We have Genoa on 24, Udinese on 25, Palermo on 25, and then we have a slew of teams at 27, rounding out the bottom 10, including Atalanta, Chievo, and Torino. We had mentioned our match of the week already. So, gentlemen, I think that's going to wrap up our league. So all we really have left is the trivia answer, don't we?
No, we don't. We have the... Sorry, Joe. I just wanted to mention that the Libertadores is back this week.
Oh, it is this week. Oh, cool. So tell us, give us...
Yeah, we have the qualifiers, as not the group stage at the moment. That's still in a few weeks. Yeah. But we have World Cup. We have the first leg of the Copa Libertadores first stage qualifiers. We have 6 games. Oriente Petrolero Bolivia against Santa Fe of Colombia. Huracan against Caracas of Venezuela. Puebla of Mexico. Racing of Argentina, which I think, out of all these 6 games, is the match of the week in the Libertadores. So that game is Wednesday, February 3rd. Be sure to and Joe, be sure to notice the Diego Milito sighting.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for him because he's gone back. So, all right, and I've got to add Libertadores back to the plan, I guess, right?
Yep.
All right, so now let's hit the trivia answer. So, Mike, you want to repeat the question?
Yep. 8 non-European cities have hosted a World Cup final. Name them.
All right, Rob, give one.
Buenos Aires.
Okay, I got to cross that one off my list.
Is that one, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. I'll go to an easy one. Mexico City.
All right.
All right. Rob?
Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah,
all right.
That's off my list. Los Angeles.
Pasadena.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Well, I bet you if you live in Pasadena, you don't think that.
Please. Then we'll play in Commerce. We'll play in, Hawaiian Gardens. you know all those places, right, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Rob. So we've got L.A., Buenos Aires, Mexico City, Rio de Janeiro.
Yokohama.
All right.
Montevideo.
All right.
Santiago.
All right.
And I think it's right because it's the South African World Cup. That's the only one we're missing on the list. And I think they played it in Johannesburg.
That's right.
That's it.
Look at that. I had them all.
7.5.
That's right. All right, gentlemen. So I guess everything on the docket for us tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've got it all done.
No, it should be a good, entertaining week.
Yeah. Oh, well, I do want to mention one more thing. We did release our first This Week in Football podcast on Friday on Vavel and on our website. It's also up on our iTunes and Stitcher feeds, so you guys can give that a listen. I think we had a great show this week and discussed a couple of really great topics. As of right now, we're looking to do that show every 2 weeks, and we want to send our thanks to Vavel for hosting it and helping us out with that. And hopefully things will get bigger and better with that show in the upcoming weeks. So keep an eye out for a new one next week where the three of us will put together some 3 interesting topics and hash them out, I guess, for lack of a better term. So with that in mind, gentlemen, let's hit the exit music. All right, so for episode 107 of Low Limit Football, special thanks again to Kurtis Larson from the Toronto Sun for joining us. Next week, gentlemen, we are efforting our second roundtable ever on this show. You'll remember recently we had Tim Vickery and Sam Kelly. Next week, we are going to have a roundtable of 2 Italian experts, one from the Napoli side and one from the Juventus side, to discuss the big match-up between Napoli and Juventus the following week. And something I want to mention to you guys, I think we should do that also for the Manchester Derby and for El Clasico, the Derby in March and El Clasico in April. So if you guys aren't opposed to that, I think we should probably effort something like that in the near future. So, and that will correspond with our guests for next week. So for episode 107 of Low Limit Football, I'm Joe Usello.
I'm Roberto Rojas.
And I'm Mike Orr.
Thanks again for listening, everyone, and good night.
Thanks for listening.